it is May 9th,
Oh, no.
2022. Thank you for joining us on another thrilling episode of Ops Oops Origami.
I'm thrilled.
Hello.
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 Well, does everybody want to introduce themselves? Start with Richard, because he's not paying attention.
I'm working, sir. Hi, I'm Rick, the old guy.
I guess that makes me Chris the Flat Cap. I'm Chris the Flat Cap.
And I'm
And
Shauna.
Brendan the Shauna.
I'm Brendan.
I think that makes Brendan the and Shauna.
Yes.
Perfect.
All right, and I'm Brian. How's everybody doing? We haven't talked to Brendan and Shauna in, a couple months.
Yeah,
It's been a
I'm,
bit.
Yeah, it's been a while.
I'm
How's
excited
things
to
going?
hear. Yeah,
Pretty good. How have you guys been?
good.
Enjoying your year so far?
I mean,
It's happening.
it is. Calendar keeps moving forward, whether you want it to or not.
Hmm.
Kids grow, they eat more. You work, you hope you sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. But not too much, because that's the long dirt nap,
Yeah, don't want that.
Nobody wants that.
I mean, most people don't want that. Any hoozle. Go ahead, Brian.
Well, I was just gonna say, Brendan, tell us about your first 2 months in IT.
It has been a treat. That's
Yes?
for sure. No, it's actually not too bad. I really like it. Love the fact that I know my schedule now. So that's pretty cool. Because that's not something I've never had before. But yeah, it's also for one of our clients, it's working on the software side of things. So that's actually kind of interesting to learn about, and also doing like the hardware with the wiring diagrams and everything like that. So not personally, but I got to tell the guy over the phone how to do it, which is pretty cool. He doesn't know what they're doing a lot of the time.
That can be a pain to try and direct somebody over the phone.
Yeah, with the tech, it's a little nicer because they actually understand what you're saying. But if you have to like troubleshoot with just a regular person, it's awful.
Oh yeah.
Things that you didn't expect that you would have to do when you entered into IT.
True. Yeah, I didn't think I would have that role as much as I do, or that I would enjoy it either.
Yeah, wait till you're trying to walk Sally from HR through how to plug something in.
Oh no, it's great because it's nobody in my company that I have to walk through. It's the customer base that we have.
Well, yeah, but it's Sally in their HR that
Or it's
doesn't know
like
what
a 16-year-old kid who's got a part-time job who has no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I mean, there is a certain satisfaction to doing that work. And the ability to relate to those people long term is a skill set that you never lose, honestly. And if you're going to stay doing IT, particularly IT systems, like that remembrance of what it is for the end user is super important, right? Like, what's it like out there for the person that knows nothing about IT and does not care? At the end of the day, they just need this to do their job.
Yeah, that's all they care about.
Right.
And that's fine. I mean, that's all they should care about. And those are all skills that I never had to gain because I started IT as an engineer.
Mr. Fancy Beans.
Yeah.
It happens to some people.
I never had to develop those skills. That's one of the reasons we're doing this. It forces me to talk to actual other human beings.
Human connection is good sometimes.
Yes.
Can't be a hermit forever.
Yes.
You can give it a hell of a shot.
Yeah.
So, have you had the urge to tell someone to just pack it all up and send it back to you yet?
Yeah, that's happened.
Okay. Have you said
Um,
it to him?
No, I actually was. One of my coworkers made the comment the other week. They're like, "You're the most polite one when it comes to people who piss you off," which I thought was pretty cool because I was like, "All right, I didn't know that." So I'm pretty good at keeping it contained, at least.
You may have a future in HR.
Yeah, probably.
You
I'll
don't
get kicked
wanna-
out way too quickly because anybody at the company I work with, that's a whole different story.
Fair enough.
But yeah, no, it's fun. I get really, really polite with them, I guess, and then people don't really take kindly to that either.
Yeah, but then it's all on them.
Exactly, because I'm like, I can't get in trouble for that one.
Yeah.
Whereas if I tell you to go kick rocks or something, then I can.
Yeah. So what's the coolest thing that you've worked on so far, or learned?
It's funny because a lot of stuff I do, I still have no idea what it is. I just know what I'm doing with it. So I know like what my very minor role is for this to go out and make an effect. So like I push sweets out in packages, and I know they have something to do with it, but I don't know exactly what they do inside the actual coding or software. I don't even know if that's a proper portion of what it's doing. But I'm the one who pushes it out, which I'm like, seems oddly weird, but okay. But I'd say that's pretty much.
You got to start somewhere, and eventually you'll learn. Just because of time on the job and listening to people and talking to people, you'll start to sort that out and find out what it is you're actually pushing out to the client. So
yeah, well,
and it just comes with time. You've been at it what, 3 months, 2 months?
What was that?
I said it comes with time. You've been at it what, 2 or 3 months? So
4.
For that portion, it's been about 2 or 3, somewhere in there.
So
I mean,
I think
well,
you're
the
doing
other
pretty
thing
well.
the other thing I'll say is, like, if you are an operations person, one of the things to remember is that ultimately we are curators of policy and facilitators of execution, right? So like we don't always have to know exactly what something does. We don't even have to know why it's being done. We just have to know the rules around it, right? Like we curate policy. That means that like sometimes we just make sure it's healthy, but other times we're just taking care of it. And part of that taking care of it is like click the button when somebody tells you to.
Yeah.
And like to Rick's point, like as you grow, you're going to understand more and more of what that is, right? Like if you've got a mind that's at all curious, you're going to figure that stuff out. Because you're going to be like, hey, so when I click this button, what happens? Like, oh, the package goes out. Okay, great. What does that mean?
Yep.
Right. And like, what's interesting is you'll ask that question, and depending on who you ask it to, you're going to get one or two responses. You're either going to get the, well, let me try to explain that to you. Or you're going to get the, well, it pushes the package out. What do you mean? What does it mean? Right? Like,
Yep.
That's what it says on the tin.
Yeah.
I've had that one already.
right. Well, and that's a Brian response. Like, what do you mean? What does it mean? Jesus. Like, how do I explain this? The answer is explain it to me like I'm 5. Right. And then once you're done with that, explain it to me like I'm 7, and then like I'm 9, and walk me through the process. I've totally said that to people. I'm a 25-year IT person. I'm a pretty good engineer. I've totally said to people, like, you know what? Explain it to me like I'm 5. Because you're speaking a language that I just do not get.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's an art to that too, actually, talking to somebody to try to extract information that they have in their head, and you need to hear that in terms that you can understand, and talking them through that process of explaining it to you so you understand takes a lot. It really is an art to be able to get somebody to be able to extract that kind of information from somebody that has no idea what they're talking about. They really don't know what language they're speaking either. So it's rough, and it's all about asking the right questions and paying attention. What's that, Brian?
Yep.
That's also a special skill, being able to explain something. Because if you don't understand it well, you're not going to be able to break it down to a simpler form well.
Right. It comes from both sides. Like, how do you extract information from people that don't know what they don't know, right? Like, you've got the end users that they absolutely have the information you need, but they do not understand that, and they don't know how to articulate it to you, right? Like, to them, like, I click the button. Okay, which button? Right? Like,
Yeah.
well, the one on the screen. Like, okay, there were 6 buttons on the screen. Let's talk about it. What did the button look like? Like, how do you get that information from them without, like, being condescending to them, without making them feel super frustrated, without making them feel dumb, you know, without, exhausting their patience. And on the other end of it, when you're speaking with people that have, like, way more expertise than you and have forgotten, honestly, what it feels like to start out, how do you get information from those people too that's useful? Because if you don't, nobody's going to learn. Like, if I ask Brian questions like, hey, Brian, explain to me what you do, I'm going to get a lot of very, very specific technical things, because he thinks I can handle it. And I'm going to have to be like, all right, let's probe around the edges, because I'm going to understand some of it, but I'm not going to
Always
understand
wants
all
to
of
probe around the edges.
And it begins.
Hmm.
it. I mean, when you're built like I am, it always starts around the edges.
You're aerodynamically correct and child safe. Yeah,
I don't know
no
if that
sharp
helps.
I mean,
Rick, what the-
I'm one of those.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess tell us more. Tell us more, Brennan. You are the most interesting thing that we can talk to right now.
Great.
Because you're only in this 4 months. You haven't actually achieved personhood yet in IT circles. So sorry.
I do not care. Because 5 months ago, I was the guy I'm talking to over the phone now, which is
Right.
Yeah.
good by me. I think it's really cool. Like, I'm actually learning stuff about, like, IP schemes and stuff like that.
Okay.
So when we push the packages out, or when we're doing the cabling for it, depending on where they put in the network switch, it affects the number that's on the end of the IPv4 or whatever, or the network gate, whichever one it is. I know there's like 4 of them that I look for, and I got a little list next to me that tells me which one I need to check for. And figuring that out, because I actually figured out, because we work with POS listeners and such, and a few weeks ago I caught the fact that the cable they were running for their Cat 5 was going to a port that was over the number it should have been based off the IP scheme of it. Once I had them pull it back down, we were able to re-push the package out instead of the entire suite, and that way it actually launched it properly for the location. And that stuff I'd never even thought about before. I didn't understand what that really mattered or what it meant, because I was able to actually snatch an IP from 117 and drop it down to 100 and not lose it, which apparently isn't something I was supposed to do, but I pulled it off. And then we all realized we can do it. So then there's that's kind of like part of our system, is when it's in that and you know which network switch port, then you're good to do it. Which is like
Sweet.
A win is a win.
And then
A win is a win.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So I'm going to interrupt you for a second. Hey, Shauna,
Mhm.
how much of IP scheme, of the IP schemes that he's talking about, what level are you at? Where is your understanding of IP schemes?
Very similar to his. I know my IPv4 addresses in the sense of what they look like, and IPv6 what they look like, and I know what a subnet mask is, but not what it's for or how to determine the IP scheme or the subnet mask either. So,
All right, Brian. So
We'll have to have a class someday.
Brian is disappointed.
no. This is incredibly common in IT.
Yeah.
We, like, from a networking standpoint, and honestly, like, from a system standpoint, we talk about these things as if everybody knows, right? But maybe you get a class about it somewhere, maybe you remember it, maybe you don't, right? But I think Brian and I just found our first pre-recorded thing, because we can cover that in like 5 minutes.
It's
You can
actually
cover it in
really
5
simple.
minutes. I don't know if you're going to get anybody to understand it in 5 minutes.
No, the way they teach it in school is awful.
It
Yeah.
truly
It was
is.
very confused. I remember trying to figure it out, and I remember like laying on my bed with a textbook and a notebook, stressed because I couldn't figure out the math, and like it was very hard.
Well, that's they start with the math when the math barely matters. I mean, it matters, but the math is just kind of a byproduct. They never really explain good what it means or why or what you're doing. I mean, at its simplest, the subnet mask. So basically, you have your IP address. You have your 4 octets of your IP address. I mean, they go from least significant to most significant for the device, and the subnet mask just kind of blocks off some of it. The purpose of the subnet mask is for when one device wants to talk to another one. Is that other thing on the same network as me, or is it on a different network? Because if it's
That
on
is literally
the same network, it basically just has to put it on the wire, and the switch will take care of it. If it's on a different network, it has to send it to the default gateway, and then the default gateway will route it to where it needs to go. So like when you had the 255, 255, 255.0, those 255s basically, that's like the network portion. So if that matches, it doesn't matter what that 0 was, that last octet. It knows if those first 3 portions are the same, this is local to me. I can just kind of set it out there. I don't have to send it to the gateway first.
I
That's
always
basically
think of
all it is.
It's
Really
that
simple.
subnet mask tells me where the network stops and the subnet starts, right? This is
where the hosts stop and where the network starts.
if
Yeah.
Right.
if you want to
You
think of
don't-
it another way, it's where routing stops and switching starts. Right.
That's
So
a good one.
the gateway is your gateway into routing. Everything else is on your switch. And this is super crude and rudimentary, but it's accurate. If it's below the threshold, it stays local. It's on the switch, right? If it's above that threshold, it moves off to the wider network and it has to be routed around.
Yeah, and that host might not know where it eventually will go. It just knows, well, I just send it to my gateway and it takes care of it. So it's just a simple binary question. Is it local or is it not? That's all it cares about.
And like
So-
that, he knocked out a whole college course for me.
Yeah, with a whiteboard, it
So-
would be even easier to.
Right.
Well, and remember that teacher that we had, and Brian's absolutely right. The teacher that we had, Cisco 1, who I argued with almost every class because she was absolutely wrong at least twice a night, tried to teach us. And it was, you're right, it was it was importantly bad.
Well, they always start, well, let's break out an IP address in binary, and then we'll do a subnet mask in binary,
Yeah.
and we'll start doing some calculations, and it's like,
Well,
slow the fuck down. Tell people what these are. They're not going to mean
The-
anything.
the stupid
It's
thing
never
is,
going to
like,
begin if you don't
right.
understand why it's important.
the stupid thing is when you get into calculations, it can be completely visual, right? Like, okay, break it down into binary, right? And like, then you actually understand why the term subnet mask exists.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, oh, I pull this thing down and then I've got stuff left over, and the stuff left over is what's important, right? But if it's poorly explained, it's going to be poorly understood. And that's the thing. I think that there's a similar concept in other really core areas of IT, like DNS. Everyone's like, oh,
Yeah, why is
DNS, yeah,
Why does nobody understand how DNS works? It's super simple.
right. But
Or
it's because it's,
certificates. It's another black
Right.
hole.
I mean, it's a fucking phone book.
Yeah.
Name equals number.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes name equals name, and then you got to go look up another name. And
Yeah.
you go look up another name. Eventually, you get to a number. Now, you kids are probably too young to remember phone books.
I have sat on them when I was growing up.
I had to use them when I was growing up.
He didn't have
Yeah.
internet.
But you know what?
Mm.
You've read a book once, right?
Never.
If the book had a table of contents, words to number, Same thing. How do I find where I want to go using this readable form as opposed to having to remember what number it is? Because the numbers are long. It's worse in IPv6. Those numbers are insane.
Letters.
Leads me to my
IPv4
next
is like
question.
this. IPv6 is like that.
4 times.
Yeah, it leads me to my next question because we have that too. But
Yeah.
what we run it on, there's like your front and your rear. Will IPv6 always be on the front and IPv4 be on the rear, or does that matter how you have it cabled or something? Because these are things I don't know about. I've just started learning about.
IP addresses and cabling don't make any difference. What you're talking about is ports on a switch that might be on a particular VLAN. And the VLAN has to match, a VLAN carries that particular network, right? So that's what that's all about.
So when you plug that cable into a particular port on a switch, right?
Yep.
The way you've been thinking about it is like, if I plug the cable in to a specific port, it does a thing. The reason that happens is that that switch has been configured to make that port do that thing, right? So if you get the cable in the wrong port, different things happen, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's all software. There's actually no reason that you couldn't just reconfigure the port.
Well, he
Okay.
probably can. But
I mean,
Yeah, I'm sure I can.
But hey-
teach Shauna how to do it.
Hey, Brian, if you figured out a cable was plugged into the wrong port on a switch that was remote from you, would you call someone on site to switch the port, or would you just reconfigure the port?
boop, I just reconfigure the port.
Right.
Gotcha.
But it's important when you're setting up, like, I can relate to where you're at.
Although
The next person
it
that-
also depends.
Right.
Because
The next person
I
that
like
takes a
very
call-
strict standards. So
Right.
if it's going to break something,
Well, more importantly, and I mean more importantly, Brian and Rick, the next person in Brendan's call center that takes the call is going to expect the cable to be in the correct port.
yes.
And they're going to understand it less well than Brendan because they're way less bright than he is.
Yeah.
Right?
So you're
Like-
screwing the next guy.
Right.
Yeah, you have to kind of be careful. And
Like standards are important.
never ever take a cable and plug both ends into the same switch.
Well, if the switch is configured properly, that won't even do anything.
How many
but if
times
it's
have you run into a place and seen a switch configured properly?
Oh, it's pretty rare.
Yeah.
But if you really want to mess something up,
That'll
you
do
take
it.
a cable. I've got a better one. Because if the switch is configured properly, it won't. But if you take the cable and you plug it into the switch, and you plug the other end into like the the cheapest switch you
hub.
can get at Office Max, and then you take another cable and plug it into that same dirt cheap switch and plug it in back into the original switch, now you've made it impossible for the smart switch to figure it out.
Depends on if the dumb switch passes BPDUs or not.
It won't.
Great loop back.
If it strips them off, yeah, you'll make a big mess.
Yeah.
And then people like Chris or Brian or Dad have to figure it out.
Well, that's why we made a rule at your former place of employment that they weren't allowed unless there was just no other alternative, right? So, because they're bad juju. People are they're always doing crap like that.
Yeah.
Yep. So anyway, IPv6, to answer your original question, can be on both the front and the back end. It sounds like from your company's standard, IPv6 only on the front end
Mhm.
and IPv4 on the back end, which is fine. On the back end, it's not particularly necessary because IPv6 exists so that more addresses are available, and that's largely a concern for the internet as a whole. Once you're inside a network, you can usually manage it to a point where you don't need to worry about it.
Okay.
They're probably migrating to all v6 though. It would make sense if they already have it on the front end. Moving the devices over, it's probably part of their migration plan. It's just do like
They are a
64
global
and
company.
then-
That one is also something special.
Yeah.
I'll let you know.
I know those
Yeah, no.
addresses look ugly, but they're actually way better in a lot of different ways.
Well, here's the fun part. I know that, like, as you were speaking before, there's the IPv4, the subnet mask, the default gateway, the preferred default gateway, and then I believe there's one more that's usually underneath that when you're looking at it. For our
DNS
IPv6
servers?
DNS, you're talking about DNS. There can only be one default gateway. And then you've got preferred DNS and secondary DNS.
then it's that, correct.
Primary.
On our IPv6, though, when we're looking at, maybe it's because it is routed for the front, there's only two. There's the IPv6, and then there's like their subnet mask for the IPv6. And it doesn't continue on with the extra default gateway and such. I don't know why that is or anything about it. So
IPv6 is a lot smarter.
okay.
Yeah, routers can actually say, "Hey, I'm right here. I'm your gateway. Send it to me."
Okay.
So, and the same goes with like services. You can have one that says, "Hey, I can do DNS," or "Hey, I can do this other thing."
So it has everything within those two areas that you see, or that I
Right.
see currently.
Well, it can figure everything out from there, and like,
Yeah.
yeah, like auto configuration works a lot better on V6 than like DHCP does on V4. I mean, you can do DHCP V6, but there's other fancier stuff you can do, sort of.
Sorta.
Yeah, and like W2K says, no NAT with V6. You can do NAT. You don't need to do NAT anymore because there's plenty of addresses.
Right.
And also, most hosts will have multiple V6 addresses.
So
They'll have link local addresses, and then they'll have like the regular address that's actually routable.
so that's an interesting concept.
A lot of it hell happens automatically.
Okay.
I would actually even in V6, I'd prefer NAT, right? Like security through obscurity is not real,
Yeah.
but also don't give away any information you don't have to. So like I'd rather not expose it to the internet. Mostly because like I don't want to arm people with data when they eventually find a way to get a bridgehead in my network.
Okay.
Well, and one of the nice things is the address space is so phenomenally huge, you can't actually scan the whole the whole thing.
True.
Not in any reasonable amount of time. It would be ridiculous.
Although as systems are advancing, the ability to scan more quickly is also increasing.
Yeah.
Like we used to say that it would be impossible to crack, 1024-bit keys, right? And now that's basically trivial. So what else has been interesting for you, Brendan, Shauna, now that you're in the training and management world?
Yeah.
Evil
now that you're the
management.
Oh, what was that?
I said now that you're
Management.
the enemy.
Not that I'm the enemy, yeah. Nothing too exciting. Our office here had grown in size by 4, which was super exciting. And then it right away dropped in size by those same 4, which was kind of a bummer. So
How'd that come about?
Was it the same 4 people that joined and then left, or was it like 4 people came on and another 4 people left?
the same ones joined and then left.
Wowza.
Yeah, it was not great. So
This ain't for me. Peace.
Were they around just long enough to get trained and then deuced out?
Some of them not even long enough. One girl came on, told everybody that she was just trying to stay on long enough to get FMLA and then leave, but she left before that. But she was very vocal about it, so it was kind of odd.
Yeah.
But aside from that, it hasn't been too exciting. We had a big upgrade over the weekend for one of our clients, and it went as well as it really was expected to be. So it was a really busy day today. A lot of calls. I was in the call queue, but nothing managerial wise that I have really had to address. I do have a new manager now, so our companies during the merger are finally doing the merging part of it. So I am now underneath somebody from our Tennessee office, and she seems really nice. So we're excited to see how our job roles kind of now fit into other places in the company, since we were considered like the many hat person of like billing, training, quality assurance, etc. All of those are different departments in the new company. So now it's kind of seeing where we're going to fit best. So we'll see how that goes.
So how many people in the company that you're coming from?
I would say at least 100.
Okay. And how
There's
many
more
people
in the other office.
how many people in the new company before you joined it?
Oh, I don't even know. More than that.
Like 300, 500, 1,000, 10,000?
My guess would be 300.
Okay. So
We have a
you're
couple
talking about
offices.
so you're talking about like a company that was just making the transition out of like truly small business into like the medium small size to a company that's actually firmly in the like medium sized business realm.
Yeah.
On the low end, but still medium sized.
Hmm.
Um, and that is an interesting transitional point, right? Because as you're finding out, like you used to do all the things, right? And now they've carved it out to be multiple things because
Mhm.
they had to. It'll be interesting. I'll be interested to hear how that's going for you because I've been through that transition too. The last time I went through that transition, it went from a company that was about 120 people that joined a company that was 110,000.
Oh, goodness.
Wow.
Culture shock was real. I actually posited
imagine.
that the term Byzantine should be no longer used, and it should be Honeywellified. But then I gained my modern feelings about insurance, and I think that it's no longer insurance; it's insurancing. Um, and
Insurance scene.
now I work for an insurer, so like
We've come full circle, you know? Look at you
right,
go.
like I had a Facebook post that was reminded to me through Facebook's like, hey, remember this time when you actually liked us? And it said, hey, look at this post you did. And I'm like, oh, that's about insurance. I now work in the insurance industry. It feels a little bit like eating crow.
It
Come to
is
find
a unique industry.
it is. It is.
How are you liking that work, Chris?
I mean, it's insurance in some ways. And to be clear, I'm not working in health insurance. I'll be honest, I think if I've ever offered work by a health insurer, I would only be there long enough to like detonate all of their data.
Yeah, don't do it. It's a trap.
Because that is the industry that I was specifically speaking of. I truly loathe them. And if you work for a health insurer and you think that you're doing good work, I'm going to introduce the concept of like being seduced by the devil. Like at some point you stop knowing what the difference between right and wrong is. And that's when you go to work for an insurer, a health insurer. That being said, it is insurance. I could tell myself that I'm helping people like in the long run, like, oh, I have a substantive impact, but I work for a healthcare company. I know what having substantive impact on people's lives is. Like, hey, the thing that we make for you makes you live longer. Like you were going to die. And then you got this thing from us and you lived more years. Like not more days or more months, but more years. Like that's an impact, right? You have a thing that happens to you that requires you to engage like your auto insurer or whatever. Like, yeah, that sucks. And maybe it pushes you over the edge on your budget, but you're not dying tomorrow or next week because of that. Like life is hard.
It's a different kind of impact.
Right. And at the same time, like it is an impact. Like, I worked for a retailer prior to this. If you don't buy our thing, basically what that means is you didn't buy our thing.
You probably found the same thing on Amazon for cheaper.
Or you decided you didn't need it, or you decided you do need it, but you couldn't afford it today. Like nobody's gonna die for the most part because they didn't get the thing from the retailer. If they're gonna die because they didn't get the thing from the retailer, they're gonna find it somewhere, or they're gonna buy it, right? We're not changing lives there. But like in healthcare, like, no, that's no joke, right? Like, barring being a doctor or a nurse or a firefighter or a police officer, you don't have getting more impact on people's lives doesn't really happen. Then there's the insurance world. Like, it has an impact on people's lives. You can, like, not having the right insurance, or like getting your claim or not getting your claim, even for like auto insurance or whatever it is, like, that can be the difference in a person's budget between an okay year and a really, really shitty year.
I have a coworker that jumped in the car after working all night, headed to work, and for whatever reason drove right through a red light, crashed his car, and his insurance had expired the day before. And there was no grace period, no nothing. They just turned him off, period, done. And it was all because his auto pay got goobered up somehow, and it didn't get paid.
Man.
And yeah, so insurance companies are evil in my mind. They are absolutely evil. So,
There's some that'll work with you on that stuff.
not this one.
And not all of them, right? Like, some of them are purely in it to like stick it to you. Others, and I like to think the one that I'm working for is one of the ones that is actually in it to, like, the internal monologue is, we manage risk. That's what insurance companies do.
Right.
Right. But the aspect of the human quality of that, for some companies, there is no human quality to it. It's purely a mathematical equation. And for other companies, it's, like, the human quality is super important to them. Like, they manage risks so they can provide people better experiences. I heard about Williams' MVA. It was awful. Horrific.
What is an MBA? I don't know what that acronym is.
Motor vehicle
Motor
accident.
vehicle.
Oh,
accident.
motor vehicle accident. Well, okay. I thought it was something more complicated than that.
He's just using the hip lingo, Brian.
Get with it. We didn't know what it meant either.
Oh, we missed another
I'm not
comment.
afraid to ask the dumb questions.
Yeah, William had a doozy. But, we'll let William tell the story. Sometime when he's on live, I'm going to keep pumping it until he shows up.
Yeah.
But I'm going to focus on W2K's comment of, Rick, what kind of radios do you have behind you?
Oh boy.
Oh God.
Where?
On
You
the
have
shelf.
You got a whole shelf of them, and then another.
Well,
we can't see the top shelf.
you have 60 seconds.
Oh, I can't count how many radios.
No, not how many. What kind?
There's 2-meter radios, 73 centimeter, 1.25 meter, and HF, and a whole bunch of other crap back there.
It's
Perfect.
that whole bunch of other crap that's super descriptive to me.
Yeah.
I'm just messing with you.
Yeah, they're hidden behind all that stuff. There's mostly ICOM rigs and HF all band. So 6 meters, 10 meters, all the way down to 160 meters, and it's my ham radio stuff. So
right.
If one of these days we'll do a show and I'll explain all of it.
We can talk about radios and the voodoo that is antennas.
Oh boy.
It's absolute theory. There is no antenna law. It is
Nope.
all theory.
Some antennas are good and some are bad, and
Well, you'd be surprised what would radiate. You would think that shouldn't work at all, and it's probably one of the best things ever. So, and then you build something completely to spec, and full half wave, and oh nice, KB9YDG. I'll have to look at it. W9RIX.
so those of you that aren't in the comments and or just monitoring carelessly, feel free to post KB9YDG and W9RIX on all the bathroom walls
For a good time.
for a good time call.
Ham radio this operator. Perfect.
No, you just put for a good time call, and I guarantee you that sometime in the next 20 years, somebody will think about doing it.
Maybe.
I kid. Ham radio operators are the best. They certainly are.
Folk.
Some of them are amusing at parties. All of them are amusing at parties.
Well, but some of them are amusing for other reasons. Yeah.
Indeed.
I mean, Rick, you're one of the most normal ham radio operators I think I've ever met. You're far from normal, so
I don't know if I know how to accept that. I don't know. Yeah.
they're odd folk. some
of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Not-
I mean,
Well,
whatever.
I mean,
They're not bad. They're just some of them are weird.
yeah. Well, who hasn't got a little bit of weird in them?
Well,
And you can say the same thing about being in IT, because we've all
There's-
met somebody who's just a little weird.
I mean,
just- I was waiting for the joke of somebody to say, well, me, and Rick to say, do you want some? Got a little weird in him. It's an old joke.
yeah.
a little captain in you. Yeah.
So clearly, I've got some weird in me.
Yeah, you just showed that off perfectly.
Yeah.
I mean, was that not evident?
Yeah.
Yeah, but the mural's perfect.
I mean, mural, nothing.
I don't know what it is.
That's a stage prop.
Oh, is it?
It's a stage prop.
It looks like the librarian from Page Master.
Pretty much what I was trying to evoke. It's someone's friend, the dictionary.
Ah.
Also, the presidential seal. Stage props. Stuff happens.
Yeah.
So speaking of the presidential seal, let's I can't do it.
Come on, Vanna.
Hmm.
Close enough.
So
Yeah, I'm the
the
weird one.
economy.
Yeah.
We
The
didn't say
economy's
you were the the economy's stupid. So the title of today's episode, Will the Market Affect IT? Give us a background, Brian and Rick. You guys seem to be aware of the market.
I don't know if anybody else has been paying attention, but I mean, everything pretty much shit itself the last
It's
day or
ugly.
two. Yeah, it's
It's
been
like
ugly.
tanked. Why?
My
Well.
401k took a serious hit.
On
My-
sale.
Digital stuff took a serious hit. Everything is on sale. There's no question about that. So
Everything is on sale. Buy. Not buying, you're dying.
Oh yeah.
Because what are you going to do? Sell? Lock in your losses? Well, that'd be stupid.
well,
You buy now, you reduce your cost average. I mean, it's
I can
no
tell
brainer.
you right now,
I-
100% certain that it sucks when you do that.
So
when
I will
when
point
you
out.
sell.
Yeah, when you lock in
Yeah.
your loss. So
Yep.
So I just did an S&P 500 lookup. Okay. May 7th is our closest date. May 7th, the S&P was 4,232. Today it's 3,991. But on March 5th, it was 3,841. So not too much more than a year ago.
Oh,
Equal value. Yes, it sucks.
full house.
The S&P was
4,000.
Hey, first time caller, long time listener.
Turn off your mic.
Great topic. Love the show.
3,991.
God,
Yes. You know what I love more than anything else in the world is the sound
muted
of
you.
my
There you
voice
go.
recorded.
Now we're good.
Played back with an uncomfortable amount of delay.
Well, now that we're talking about stocks and everything, I have to join.
It got more
I'm not
interesting.
talking
It
now.
got more
stocks.
interesting. Yes,
I'm talking about indexes.
VTI and chill, my brother.
Yeah, well, even that went down.
Well, everything went down, but yeah.
Well, I know that.
So, the
when
point
you
that
have
I'm
an
making
aggregate of
is,
everything.
the point that I'm making is that the decline started roughly the start of the year, right? Like we had some bounce back and whatnot, but like, hey, the market does weird things.
Yeah.
The peak in the market was December 31st of 2021. And I'm calling the market the S&P 500 because anything else is bogus.
Fair enough.
But if you look at the rate of climb for the S&P 500, the last like year and a half have been pretty amazing because this is the index that is steady, right? You look at these growth curves.
I bought
they're
the
amazing.
shirt. I bought the shirt. No joke.
Oh, you're mirrored. I think I can flip you.
Oh, you can't.
You
I mean,
can flip yourself though.
VTA, SAX, VTI, and chill.
Basically an index of everything.
Yeah, basically buy it all. Why buy a needle in the haystack when you just buy the whole haystack?
Wow. You know, I haven't looked at the S&P recently, but I do find it shocking that we went into what is effectively inappropriate exponential growth. Nobody's going to like me for this. Sorry. Right about the time of the 2020 election.
Well, when you print, 3/4 of your dollars in existence, you can't help but a rising tide lifts all ships.
Yeah, the S&P is resistant to those kinds of things. These are big
I would
companies that make
disagree.
really smart
it
financial choices.
should be moving the other direction based on
It
those
should be moving the other direction.
and it was, but
And now it is, right? Like some of those effects take a while to occur. 2 years is actually about right. Inflationary pressure is what it is. Honestly, I feel like, you know what? I'm not going to say this because this is not a politics or opinion show, at least not about investments. But let's just say that the market has decided that things are not great. And how
Let's
will
just
that
say that this
affect
is not
IP?
financial advice. Do not listen to anything we're saying about any investments you may or may not invest in.
Yes.
Please
Consult
contact
your
your own personal
professional.
advisor.
Yes, exactly.
Also, William is right. Money is a lie until you try to spend it.
Yeah, gets real then.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, people have their life savings tied up in these types of things. Doesn't matter. Measure it however you will. People have their life savings tied up in this. They see their 401ks, they see their whatever's go down 10%. Well, for somebody who has a life savings, and that 10% can be a lot of money, and that makes people concerned.
Yeah. And understandably, But if you're not
Yeah.
retiring today,
Yeah, buy it all.
honestly, well, yeah, that's the thing. People are freaking out. Even if you're retiring this year,
Yeah.
it's really not that big of a deal.
Maybe push that off a couple of years and ride it out.
But yeah, but a student, someone who's a student, if you are retiring this year, you should have been far delevered than this would have affected you anyway. So
Right.
Well, you should have been almost all in cash equivalents, which would have been screwing you anyways, because then inflation's eating your ass from the other end.
Yeah.
So what? Yeah. What are you gonna do? So
if you're retiring this year, you're not in cash equivalents. You're in preservation of wealth, which is not cash. It's gold. Like you're buying gold derivative, right? Because you know what? Gold derivative always does well. Doesn't do it quickly.
It's been pretty quiet the last couple of years.
Like many years. Like
quiet is good in this market.
Well,
the cash is all gold has done about as much as cash has done. And someone who owns gold, not to some massive extent, but gold has been flat for 3-5 years, whatever. It hasn't done shit.
The last
Silver's
big
moved
jump
a little
gold
bit, but not much either.
The last big jump that gold did was probably 2010, 2011.
Yeah.
But here's the point of
it really's been relatively stable since.
The point of gold is not to get big jumps. The point of gold is that it doesn't have big drops.
Well, but I would see then 7-10% a year on gold this past couple of years.
Right. So like when cash bottoms out, gold does not. That's the point of a commodity like that, right? Like it is stable against drops. It is a preservation of wealth. It is not a way to build it. It will not do well when everything else is doing great. And you know what? Based on the S&P for the last year and a half or so, things have been going great.
But if I had an extra 10 grand a day, I'm putting that in I bonds, not gold. I bonds pay 8.5. Guaranteed.
You and the Chinese.
Yeah. Well, 8.5. Congratulations, you made 0.5% on inflation.
Well,
but that's better than
gold paying out 8%. Gold's not paying out 8%.
No, and that's where the weird part is.
Yeah,
because it should have been, because it normally would.
Yeah,
it would at least be stable against inflation. And like Chris said, gold never dumps. There's no way.
Gold never dumps. Yeah, nobody dumps gold. Yeah, you just have that in the shoebox somewhere on mattress.
Worst. Let's see here. The 30-day drop, one of the more severe. We went from.
What is S&P at now? Like we're off like in the mid-teens. That's nothing. That's nothing.
No, I mean it's in good shape.
I don't think mid-teens off is everyone's running around a chicken with their head cut off. I don't see that as.
Yeah, people just don't have perspective.
No.
I mean, if you want to fix it,
we
doubled and then went down 20%. Oh no.
even 20, even excess of 30% these days would be. I would consider that mild.
I mean, if you want to talk, granted, the companies in the S&P are supposed to be way more predictable than a company that will drop 30, right? Like you shouldn't be seeing that from an S&P company. But the problem.
Wouldn't expect it from a FANG company either, but
well,
talk to Netflix about that.
Fuck the FANGs. Everything is such in lockstep these days. It's just what degree that you're part of the mix.
Right. Everybody is subject to oil and gas pricing, and as much as everybody's hurting from oil and gas, part of the S&P is the oil and gas companies, and they're doing fucking phenomenal.
Well, yeah, because I just got raped on filling my gas.
Oh yeah,
I filled both cars today, Jenny's car and my truck, and spent $160.
Yeah.
Today.
I
That's-
guarantee you the material cost for the oil and gas industry in the US has not increased any more than about 15%.
Yeah. But everyone sees gas prices, diesel prices are in excess right now. I mean, all that stuff, everything you touch will have those costs passed on to the consumer.
Yeah, diesel fuel is tipping over $5 a gallon.
Which
out
I
west it's
saw-
even worse.
I forget where I saw it. It was excess filling up a diesel truck for excess of $1,000 for one tank, and there's 2 tanks on those trucks.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
You want to know where your costs in your life are coming from?
Rainey's clear
Fuel.
the show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that is everything, right? I mean, this is kind of a weird cliche, but if you bought it, it was in a truck at some point.
Yeah.
Right.
Or-
So
Right.
So and if you have to heat your house, there's some sort of fuel going on there. Right.
I mean, unless
So
you're like
natural gas
geothermal
or whatever,
right?
all that stuff is getting expensive.
Yes.
Every bit of it is getting expensive. So if you have to do fuel oil and have it delivered to your house, you're paying more for the fuel oil and you're paying more to have it delivered. Right?
You're- So fun story. You're not paying that much more for fuel oil. Not like you're paying for
For
diesel
gasoline?
and
Or for
gasoline.
diesel? Yeah. Well,
Right.
you're paying a chunk, but for fuel oil, you're
There's
just
a lot
not
less.
paying the taxes on it that
A
you
lot
do.
less tax.
Yeah.
I mean, no, but like look at price increase as a percentage, and you look at the percentage of price increase on fuel oil versus percentage of increase on gasoline. I guarantee you're going to see way more increase on gasoline percentage wise than you are on fuel oil.
For heating oil, what you mean?
Right.
It's the same thing though. It's just
It's diesel. It's diesel
diesel
plus some red dye.
yeah, without the red. Yeah, right. So it's yeah. So yeah, you get raped at the pump. Seriously, it took me almost an hour before I could sit down today.
Get yourself a
Father?
donut, Rick, because it's just going to keep going.
Yeah, it was ugly.
Yeah.
So,
And
how
we're
is that going to
driving
affect the IT world?
Driving to Wyoming in 2 days, pulling a
Yeah,
heavy
well,
ass.
Look at
Cooper.
that.
That's just not bright.
Thanks, Chris. You and I have always had that relationship, brother.
Now-
I already committed to it.
No,
It's
yeah.
You got to live your life. You got to hit your commitments. Like whatever else happens. I support you in that decision. If it costs you some extra cash,
Father-in-law needs the help. Father-in-law is sick. He can't take care of the old homestead. There's 80 acres that need attention. So has to go.
so what you're saying is Brennan and Shauna are coming with too.
I wish.
Not
That'd
this
be
time.
nice.
Lazy kids.
it'll affect IT just like pretty much everything else. I mean, when the tide goes out, what was it? When the tide goes out, that's when you know who's swimming naked.
Okay.
Never heard that saying, but
I think
Makes
it's a
sense.
thing. I think it's a thing. Yeah.
I mean,
if it's not,
if
it
it
is
wasn't
now.
before, yep.
It's a thing now. Yeah.
Brian and I are adding it to the list. That's going
I'm
on
Yeah.
the
gonna
merch.
use it in an interview I have scheduled tomorrow for a prospective engineer that we all know and love.
Oh, okay.
Better offer him good money.
That's out of my realm of whatever. So
So,
But,
in my
yeah, I
opinion,
mean-
when it comes to everything raising the prices, isn't the first thing that always gets cut tends to be like the IT department because nobody notices them when things are working fine,
Mm,
but everybody
Yeah.
notices it when things are broken.
Yeah. I mean, there's businesses run, on top line and bottom line. So you either add to the top line or you subtract from the bottom line, and IT is on the bottom line.
I'm starting to see a
Part of
bit of a difference in that where companies are starting to realize that they really can't cut the bottom line at the IT department. I'm starting, at least with mine, they're starting to
Yeah,
realize that,
yeah.
hey, we know that there's a lot of work to be done and we know that times are tough and we can't cut anymore. So And they're
What do
actually
you-
Everybody else keeps trying though.
Do you think
Yeah.
that's a
Well-
realization though after they cut IT at the bottom line?
well, they knew they cut too far. That
Oh,
last
yeah.
couple of years.
Cut
And they
too close
did.
to the bone and patient died.
Yeah.
Damn near
Nearly
it.
died.
Damn near it.
It's interesting. If you say you cut an accounting department too far, that takes a couple of months to have an effect because like suddenly checks aren't coming in, right? Or checks aren't getting paid. And that has real cost. Like in 3-4 months, you're starting to see real costs from cutting an accounting department too quickly or too much, right? You cut an HR department, it could take you 3, 4, 5 years to see that impact. IT, I think, is in the middle. You're going to see an impact, unless you're like customer facing. You'll see an impact in somewhere between, 3 months and 4 years, depending.
Well, and I think it's a lot harder to spin somebody up in IT than say accounting. Accounting,
Sure.
they shouldn't be doing anything fancy. If they are, that's a red flag. I mean, it's the same with like HR. I mean, you got some navigating of the company, but after that, HR practices are pretty much HR practices. IT is the weird thing, and like line of business kind of stuff. Like say you're manufacturing, we know how to make this widget. It takes a certain amount of time to learn how to make this widget because that's just how it is. Because every company is going to be different in that regard. But there are business units within pretty much every company that should be behaving relatively the same. Of all those that should be relatively the same, accounting should be the most the same.
True.
Theoretically.
What's interesting is like from that standpoint, you're actually better off temporarily cutting HR or accounting, right? Like because it's way easier to spin somebody up. You shouldn't be cutting manufacturing or IT, right? Or, depending on how your company works, sales or marketing. Then again, maybe your company works in such a way that you should be cutting them first.
Well, if your IT department is appropriately sized, I can see maybe kicking some projects down the road. But you try and cut, I don't know. We've all seen it before, and it's always been way more detrimental than the company ever thought it would be.
Right. Like you reap those rewards or those curses for years and years to come. But it's tough to see, right? Like they just, if you don't have the IT expertise, you look at that bottom line, you go, well, that's really expensive without thinking about what that money buys you.
Yeah. Well, and for costs in IT, I mean, everything's getting harder to get and more expensive if you can get it. And now and that's been going on for the last year and a half.
Right. That's economics, right? Like supply is limited.
Yeah.
So,
well, and also additional tariffs and just everything's kind of gotten worse.
Right.
But now add on top of that even more inflation, even higher fuel costs, more uncertainty in the world, at least in Eastern Europe.
Well, and you're going to see companies making like down in the supply chain also facing the problems of impending recession and trying to protect themselves. So like all those supply chain issues are going to get worse, right? It's once the economy accepts the idea that it's going to be bad for a while, it gets worse real fast.
There we go.
Which is unfortunate, but
There we go. I don't know how to post it to the main chat. Thank you.
Yeah, Chris and I might be the only ones that can actually do that.
Fair enough.
So yeah, I threw it out there. Yeah, I
Not
took a
complete-
brief glance at the first 3 paragraphs, and it looks
Not
interesting.
completely crazy, yes.
No, yeah. I mean, it's Warren Buffett, so it was probably a saying 120 years ago.
Yeah.
However old that dude is now.
Yeah, but it's Warren Buffett, so it's still relevant.
Yeah, Warren Buffett doing right now.
Nothing. Pretty
No,
much
he's
nothing.
buying. No, he's
Buying.
He's,
Buying.
I think he's buying.
He's cash.
He hates the crypto world. He hates that. He likes real, and
He does.
But
you know what?
He likes real productive company. He likes companies.
He likes real estate.
He likes companies that, well, as an ancillary maybe, but he likes productive assets.
Mm-hmm. He wants somebody.
He wants Coca-Cola. He wants a bottle of Coke being sold every second from now until eternity.
Right. Well, so here's the thing. He's not a crypto guy for the same reason he was never a currency guy, right? Like
he's not a gold guy either.
Right.
He's not
because he wants something that has an intrinsic ability to produce new value.
Correct. Yes.
Within his understanding, which
Right,
is the biggest part. He goes with what he knows.
Right.
He understands how a business is supposed to operate. He can look at a business and tell if it's functioning healthily or not.
I think that if you ask Warren Buffett, what currency should I be in? He'd be like, well, you shouldn't be in currency, but if you're going to pick one, pick crypto. Best opportunity for gain, right? If you want to get into something, don't get in where all the heavy hitters have already locked it up and figured out how to make all of the money while excluding the stupid people that try to play. Go in someplace where you can make an opportunity.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Like,
actually,
don't trade on the US dollar.
I'm glad that he's not really into crypto because he has enough bankroll where he could seriously swing markets.
Right.
No, I mean, seriously, it only takes about 1% of Bitcoin volume to swing the market.
Yeah.
If you can control that much of the trading volume, you can make it go whatever way you want.
Yeah.
So you have 1% to swing it, and then you make profit with the rest.
I mean, at the end of the day, Warren Buffett is ultimately a bullish type of person. So having him in a crypto market actually wouldn't be that bad because he'd overall be bullish. He'd be a positive force, but he would swing the market.
He'd probably be super.
I don't see him going into that. That's not his style.
Mm-mm.
It's not his style. It's not his MO. He wants to buy Coca-Cola. He wants to buy apartment buildings. He wants to buy companies that make shit.
He wants to buy companies that make pink telephones.
Pink telephones, purple telephones. He'll sell you whatever color telephone you want.
I just saw a pink telephone behind Rick, and I'm like,
yeah,
that. I have a
Pink Princess.
I have a telco beige.
I mean, it's not
that.
But
I do have a telco beige.
Do you remember the Princess phones, Rick?
No, it's an old school ATT touchstone phone.
That's the kind of phone your 13-year-old daughter called the other 13-year-old girlfriend on the phone.
It's the kind of phone you toss in your bag to test pots.
That's exactly what that phone is for. I set up some phone service for a store in Milwaukee that they were using. They have Google Voice, and they wanted to do an Obi. And so we got the Obi, and it was through a third-party seller or some damn thing on Amazon. So she bought it, and she couldn't make it work. She called me, and I brought it here, and I had to update firmware or whatever. And I couldn't get it. I don't have an analog phone here anywhere. They've all gone the way of the dodo. So I found that on Amazon for $18, and I bought it. I bought the pink one because I thought Jenny would like it.
Fair enough. So, you're gonna make me go to my garage and get my my actual pulse radial dial.
I still have that, but the Obi wouldn't know how to do a pulse phone.
I've got a converter for it.
Do you really?
I have a pulse dial payphone. That's how my kids are going to learn what using the phone is.
That is awesome.
Like they will dial a phone number.
You're kind of evil.
I love
I
Chris.
appreciate it.
He's like one of my heroes. I wished I'd have known him when Shauna was 2.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Like, here's your sack of quarters for the month. Hey, Dad, I want to call my friend. Where's your quarters? I spent them. Now you're learning budgeting.
Yep.
Who uses pots still? Oh,
I'll,
for a second there, I was like,
Pot
well,
still.
like, basically
Oh,
all of Kentucky.
Pretty sure this came from a pot still.
wait. Let's who? Oh,
Who uses pots?
POTS. Okay, I
So
didn't.
Still.
Yeah, okay.
Zigify doesn't understand that you should capitalize an acronym
Ziggy
because he's a baby.
He's oh god, is he even a millennial?
oh god,
Or is he a Z?
millennial. Give him
Zillennial?
that label. That's super.
Zillennial.
Zillennial. I don't even know how old Ben is.
Like 12,
Was I?
13 years old.
Yeah.
We could play the game of "Am I old enough to be your dad?" or "If I'd met your mom, was I trying?"
You broke Dad.
Fun story for my kids. The answer is yes.
You are absolutely my hero, Chris. There is no question.
Oh, Chris.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
we are close to, depending on what indice you use, 17-18% off the high.
Of
But that's nothing. Call me when it's 30.
Yeah.
Call me
off
when
the high of
I mean,
what?
this isn't
of
fun.
anything. It doesn't.
This isn't nice, but this isn't.
I would say use any indice you want.
Right. So, and here's the thing. Like I've seen, like I've now, because I try not to pay too much attention to this stuff because it just annoys me. Now that I'm looking at it, I'm not seeing losses that are like, yeah, they're big, but they're not catastrophic. And let's face it, it's investment indices. This is not real money. I'm sorry. Like it's only real money when you try to withdraw it, and you've got the option to not withdraw it.
It's all unrealized gains, probably. I mean, people are panicking. Yeah, I bought. What was it? Buck and change for VTI. Now it's under 200. So
Here's the thing.
whatever.
Like the people that are withdrawing money from investments to pay for stuff, their investment is their savings account, right? That's not on the S&P 500, right?
I think
so-
those people are gambling.
What I'm saying is that like the people that are pulling money out of stocks, bonds, crypto, whatever it might be, right now are not pulling it out because like they suddenly need cash. They're pulling it out because they're afraid. And fear should never be your motivation for investment strategy.
I would suggest that the loudest voices are people who may not need the cash, but the people who have put their money in, who are now possibly downturned, that is the only cash they have. They may not need it
They
directly,
shouldn't have been investing that.
but they shouldn't have been in the fucking casino to begin with.
Right, but like when I'm looking at like the noise around like, oh, huge, like the economy's in a downturn, I'm not seeing like my mom. I'm not, or people of her age that are like, oh, I'm on a fixed income and the investments are crappy right now. Like, no, what I'm seeing is like Wall Street and news media and big investors going, oh, I'm taking a hit on my portfolio this month. You know what that means? That means that you didn't make 20% commission. You made 19.
Yeah.
Right,
these
like-
people are just snakes in a den of thieves.
Right.
That's all it is. Yeah, your mom hopefully is doing nothing. The smartest thing is to do nothing. You just sit there and you just relax.
I mean,
You do what you've always done.
to be perfectly honest, knowing my mother, she's probably figured out if it's the right time to buy. Like,
That's smart lady.
she's stone cold. She's real smart.
There was another
And
Warren
now,
Buffett.
I put full disclosure. I put in the past 2.5 weeks. I put extra $5,000 in. So whether that's catching a knife on the way down, who cares? Call me in 20 years.
I'm not gonna lie. Now that I'm looking at it, I'm waiting. I'm waiting for it to go lower because I
Sure.
can get it cheaper.
Sure. I'll probably buy more on the
Maybe.
way down. Whole way down.
You know what? I agree with you. I will probably buy because I keep buying, but I'm buying crypto and whatever. But and that stuff kind of falls off a little bit more every day. So like Brian said earlier, it's on sale, and I keep
Yeah.
buying and buying. And Shauna, keep going. Buy some more Ethereum. Buy a little bit more Bitcoin because it's going to go back up.
Yeah.
In
So
my
there's
mind.
another Warren Buffett quote. I can't remember it verbatim, but it was something along the lines of the stock market is the most efficient way to move money from the impatient to the patient. Don't remember the exact quote, but it was something along those lines, and it's absolutely
It's actually
true.
a brilliant quote. He's
Yeah.
absolutely right.
Stay
You know who made
the course. Stay the
you know
course.
who
course.
made a crap ton of money? The people that bought up stocks like 1930.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took him a little bit.
Why weren't you buying the stocks in 1930?
Right?
They're talking about after the big crash, the stock market crash, when everything went down to almost nothing. The people
Right.
that made a buttload of money were the ones that still had a little cash and could buy up.
Pennies
I'm
on the
calling-
dollar.
You're saying,
As
why
long
didn't
as
you
you
do it
get
when
companies
they're
that
there?
would still be around.
Well,
Yeah.
but you have to be very careful. Everyone says like, well, buy when it's low. Well, that reeks of timing the market. You will never
Correct.
be able to time.
You never time
Oh,
the
You can
market.
never time the market. So time in the market will always be greater than timing the market.
Right.
So have your
So-
your baseline strategy between now and 30 years from now planned out. That's that trajectory.
So
But
like
you can do this thing where when things are I maxed out my Roth IRA in 2020 when the COVID thing hit. Like it was 30% off the high. I'm like, this is a fire sale. Maxed out my 401k, or maxed out my Roth IRA, I should say. Sorry, Roth IRA at the time. Not a lot. I'm not Warren Buffett. I'm not going to be a billionaire or nothing, but you can use those opportunities where people are fearful. You should be greedy.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the important thing to recognize is like the people that were buying big in 1930 were buying big in 1929, right? Like as it came down, they bought
bought
more
the
and they
whole
kept buying more. And you know what?
They
Yeah,
bought
it
the
took
whole thing,
Right.
top, bottom, middle, everything. They bought it all.
Yeah. Which goes to your point that you're buying on the way down. You say you might be grabbing a knife, but whatever. I mean, that
Yeah.
puts validity to what you just said and your plan. You just keep buying. Who cares if it keeps going down? Just keep buying more, right? Because it's going to bounce back.
Yeah. And I only use that thing as part of the exception to the dollar cost averaging. Take your, whatever it is, your monthly allocation. I'm going to buy $1,000 a month, whatever your situation allows you. I'm gonna do that bare minimum. But you can kind of when things are on sale, you can kind of take advantage of it.
Yeah. Throw a little
Right.
extra in there.
Throw a
Don't
little.
blow your whole load, but throw a little extra in there.
You're not gonna be no Warren Buffett, but
Even if
Or-
it's Shauna, I mean, because you're the young one here, you and Grindle, you guys need to, I mean, even if it's $10, $20, I mean, out of every paycheck, buy something, right? Get your 401ks going and start feeding that
Or,
dragon, right? Because
start investing in real estate, buy into an exotic dance club.
Yeah.
That's part of my plan, Chris.
Oh,
Good
Hey.
money embezzlement.
Yeah, well, yeah. If you
Brendan
no.
wants those
launder
sweaty
money, I would
singles.
imagine a strip club's
The
not a bad
only
place.
Money is money, right?
Yeah.
The only stable investment in an unstable market, and I'm quoting Avenue Q, I'm misquoting Avenue Q, but the only stable investment in an unstable market is porn. They do well all
Yeah.
the time.
Always professional.
You know what, DJ?
Get them OnlyFans.
Brendan's
accounts
looking at his
started.
little money
Right.
maker to his side.
Right, like hit that OnlyFans.
Yep.
And don't forget to tell them to like and subscribe.
Yes.
Dad, if I ever die, just don't go to my internet history.
I'll delete it. Don't worry.
Oh, jeez. You
You-
dead
you-
man
you-
switch for that.
Yeah, there's
I
a
don't know
clause
why
already.
you-
Like,
Why do you insist on doing this shit to me on a daily basis?
Because you react.
Yeah.
Have you
You don't have girls, you dick.
Thankfully.
Oh man,
Yeah, they
Chris-
all helped raise me, and this is what
Rick-
happened.
your
Rick, I'll
turn's
let you
coming,
know
Mr.
how it goes. I'll let you
Mr.
know how it
Flat Cap.
goes.
Yeah, you're coming.
Oh, she's a piece of work.
Yeah.
But
Stop.
so anyway, IT. Let's get specific.
Yeah.
that's what this channel is about.
Is it going to be increased work on internet filtering so you can prevent employees from surfing porn at work? Is it going to be increased costs? I mean, it's definitely going to be increased costs for hardware, but like, are you going to see that come through in routing, switching, like core infrastructure gear, or is the biggest impact going to be in end user compute?
Security.
You think it'll be big hit in security?
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's also going to be a lot of pressure built up on general infrastructure because all that has now forcefully been aged the last 2 years because nobody can get anything. So all this old ass craps, which was old to begin with, probably is going to be even older. After.
Wait, did you say old ass crap?
Yes.
Stop talking about Rick.
Well,
I'm just kidding. It was easy, and I'm sorry, Rick. That was unfair. He's not that old.
most of the infrastructure kind of stuff. So, as far as networking, route and switch, that stuff will last a reasonably long time. I mean, usually 7 years is a good time span for router switch. If
Yeah,
you
well,
need to stretch
depending on
that
the
out a little
vendor.
bit,
Depending on the vendor, you can still get updates for stuff that up to like 10,
Yeah.
11 years old. So
now in a lot of cases, remember, there's a lot of pushback for people going back into the office. If that
Yeah.
movement wins,
You don't need any of that.
there's going to be a lot of stuff that doesn't have to be replaced.
Yeah. And that,
So-
that like
Commercial
that-
real estate,
conversation.
when that catches up, commercial real estate is going to eat it bad.
yeah,
That's a really
when you
interesting.
need commercial real estate, you probably want to get rid of it. I would think.
So
Interest. That's
yes
an
and no. Like, there's a huge move to bring people back into the office, right? But I've already heard of one company that has changed their back in the office stance over the course of like a month, from, well, we're bringing you back for 3 days a week, to, you know what, we're going 2 days a week. Why? Employee pressure, right? Productivity and footprint. So,
Yeah.
honestly, the commercial real estate market was too rich as it was anyway. This will
Oh,
just
yeah.
correct it.
Oh, yeah.
Especially some markets, like say New York City. It's been obscene there for decades. And it
they're
was
all gonna
already
move to-
doing pretty bad before COVID hit. COVID, that's sucking a lot of people in the commercial real estate business dry.
in New York. But like,
in New York. Yeah, it's a
you-
weird situation there.
you look at the commercial real estate business in like central Wisconsin, it's probably doing really well. Because You know
I
what?
don't know about really well. You'd be dumb to be standing up new buildings. Let's put it that way.
No,
And
but like,
that's a funny thing. They're standing up new stuff all over the place, and I'm like, who the hell is going to move into these places? And then
Nobody,
I
but
see
you know,
down in Janesville,
nobody. Yeah.
I drove down to Clinton, Iowa today, and there's commercial stuff popping up there, and I'm like, who
So-
the
You know what would do really well now? Remember WeWork?
yeah,
hell?
Yeah, they basically did collaboration spaces.
Right.
They became like a $1 trillion company or whatever overnight, and then just face planted.
I believe the
If
word
they
you were
would have
looking for is
lasted, like really
shat
lasted,
the bed.
this would be the perfect time for them to like capitalize on that.
Probably.
Because they basically had rent an office for a day, an hour, whatever you needed, or collaboration space, or like you just needed some spots to like work your day and you didn't have a regular office. You could just do it there. And they had relatively recent spaces. The pricing wasn't horrible. But now, if you could get that to get some traction, that could be an amazing business model, I think.
Actually, I think a person could do well, or a company can do well for just providing meeting space.
Yeah.
Right.
That's basically what WeWork was doing.
Yeah.
Decent
just-
connection, and
But
yeah.
they would do offices and whatever, and
Yeah.
they'd have
Just do super low friction. Hey, I need to book a space for 10 people in half an hour.
you know,
Okay, yeah, come on in. You already have everything all set up. You can do a presentation. We got projectors. We got anything you possibly need. It's a fully outfitted space.
like the
Couple $100
Airbnb.
to do your meeting. Now you're done.
you know who still has that?
Who?
FedEx Kinko's. You can still go
I-
in and rent stream space from them.
Can
Like
you
I
it's,
didn't know
it's
that
a
was the
small.
thing they did.
I
Yeah,
didn't know that either.
they've been doing it for years. Their prices have always been just a little bit more expensive than you want to pay, but it's been available. I mean, it's the footprint is way smaller the last time I was in one, but they still have some capabilities. Like they made the investment, and it's not a huge part of their footprint, so why not?
Thanks, Ben.
All right, Ziggy.
I mean,
But-
drugs and alcohol.
Well, the
Cornerstone of every
down market.
civilization. Yeah.
Also, the
Yeah,
cornerstone of a lot of
vices.
IT operations.
Yeah. Yep.
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Speaking of rock and roll, total non sequitur. Netflix has a movie out there. It's Metal Lords or something like that. It's about like 3 kids in high school that make a metal band. And you know, it's stupid, nearly rom-comness, but like metal. So that's a thing. Anyway,
Yeah.
don't
I was
watch
going
it.
to cancel my Netflix because I hadn't logged in like 3 months. And then I remembered that I get it for free from T-Mobile and never bothered setting that up over the last 5 years.
Do we
So,
really get that free with T-Mobile?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Son of a
You get free Netflix.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, Netflix, when they announced that they were going to shut down like the password sharing, did you see their stock just?
I mean,
Oh,
they
yeah.
Well,
flirt
And a lot
with
of
that.
other things.
There
They
was
did
a lot of other
good
things part of that too. Part of that
Yeah,
was
commercials.
The
they
fangs.
shut down all their Russian subscribers. Well, there was many
All
millions.
3 of them.
Wow.
No, there was a bunch of
There
them.
was probably a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there was
Um,
3 accounts. There was millions of people.
Right. No, Netflix flirts with this all like every couple of years. Like, oh, we're gonna do something about the thing, and then like, yes, they lose people, right? But then they also get like some people buy subscriptions and then they don't do it, and people are like, oh, actually, I miss the Netflix stuff, and they lose some customers, but they're actually really good at keeping their core customer base engaged and luring new or former customers back to them.
Yeah.
I mean, mostly because they have decent product. And Brian's like, oh, I don't watch Netflix, but like, at one point you did watch Love, Death, and Robots, right?
Oh yeah. So I've been a Netflix subscriber since it was probably the first month where we could get the DVD deliveries in Wisconsin. So like, as soon as we could get it in our area, I had it. So we're like over 10 years. But I honestly don't, besides accidentally hitting the button on my Chromecast, the hard Netflix button that I seem to accidentally hit.
Right.
I haven't launched Netflix in several months.
Stop it.
I can't remember the last thing I watched on there. I don't think
I'm going to give you a list.
in the last year.
I'm going to give you a list that you can get through in like a month, and then you can feel free to cancel your Netflix subscription for like a year.
Well, I just dropped it down to the standard one screen, nothing's the one I can get for free from T-Mobile. That's all I have now. Dropped it down a month ago. I haven't logged in since then, so I don't even know if the video quality is lower. I just kept it because
After House of Cards, that was done.
That was your Netflix series, huh?
That was it. Yep, that was it.
I just lost so much respect for you. It's all right.
Jeez.
there's so much good content on
I'll take
YouTube right now.
Oh, you.
Oh, yeah.
Over the last like 2 years.
I have so many subscriptions. It's
Yeah,
insane.
I couldn't watch everything in one day if I wanted to. There's no way.
No, not even close.
YouTube
So-
Premium, get rid of those commercials.
Here's my thing.
Ad Blocker Plus. Thank you very much.
Long form YouTube content, like long form dramatic YouTube content,
Oh yeah.
not
No.
really great.
No, that's
Oh no,
terrible.
there is good stuff. You just need to find it. Well, and the fact, like History Channel, their whole back catalog is up there now. Like the actual stuff, like before it became aliens and more aliens.
Before it became the Hitler and Histrionics channel.
Yes. Well,
I
and
mean,
then,
it's always
so
been the Hitler channel. Like, let's not lie.
what I just did sign up, Curiosity Stream and Nebula.
Okay.
Just lost
Oh.
somebody.
The great big auditors in the sky caught him.
Yep. So it's only like $15 a year, and it's like all kind of documentary and sciencey, kind of shit I like to watch anyways.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
for $15 for both of the things for a year, I mean, what the hell?
Yeah.
But there is a ridiculous amount of content on there, and there is long form stuff. There's less long form stuff, but there is.
Right.
You just gotta kind of look for it, and you have to remember what you would have considered long form is not an hour-long documentary on any channel. It's 10 minutes of real content and then a whole bunch of B-roll, stock footage, and repeating the same information over
Right, so-
and over and
So-
over.
I'm not talking about Discovery Channel long form. Right.
But-
I'm talking about old school, like Modern Marvels, History Channel long form, right? Where there's, yes, they may be using
so
stock
even that
footage,
stuff,
but it's not
they
the
reuse the
same
shit
stock
out of it.
footage in the same episode. And more importantly, the concepts they're trying to convey are different.
Yeah.
And there is a fair amount of rehash in Modern Marvels. I will give you that. But it takes you a good 250 episodes to get to the rehash point in their like 1,000 episode catalog. Like, and I have zero patience for that. Like, oh, I'm going to cover the same point 6 times in the same in a 30-minute episode. So what I'm actually going to give you is 5 minutes of content. I'm uninterested. I turn that shit off instantly.
And so I don't know if all of Modern Marvels is on YouTube now, but I know I've seen many of them on YouTube.
You know
So-
what's not on YouTube, or at least not easily accessible unless you go somewhere behind a paywall, is old school Cosmos.
Oh yeah. Subumplex.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah. The just watch that again late last year. Yeah. The old school one.
I mean,
was
I learned to fall
amazing.
asleep to Carl Sagan's voice narrating Cosmos in high school physics class. So, like, that's as good as like Valium to me.
Nice.
Need to find. There is. Keep talking.
Come on, Shauna, Brendan, Rick. What are you guys drinking tonight?
We're still sober.
Nothing.
Okay, I'm sober too. But what are you drinking?
Water.
Nothing. I don't have anything.
Yeah, you're out, aren't you?
I couldn't feel my jaw for
There
the
it
first
is.
half of this, so I didn't really want to drool.
He was at the dentist.
Aw, what'd you get done?
They filled some cavities. I don't know how many or whatever, but they did my right half. And then, yeah, that was fun.
Oh.
He had a speech impediment for a little bit.
That's first time I've ever had to have that happen. So wasn't sure what to expect, and that was not fun.
My favorite dental experience was when I got my right side super numbed up and like it was visible, and I like half my drive home I spent looking in my rearview mirror going
I asked him if I could just poke his face, and he said no.
Well, I almost chopped my tongue off when I was talking to the receptionist there. So.
Did it hurt?
No, but I could feel that between
Who cares
my teeth,
then?
there was a substance that there shouldn't have been.
I mean,
Yeah.
the pain comes later.
And then that metallic, salty taste
Yeah.
of the blood.
Yeah, and it was only on the one half of
Mm.
the tongue because the other half was already numb.
Whoa. So I linked basically a remix of Carl Sagan. It's
Millions,
excellent. Everybody should
billions,
watch it.
Billions.
Yeah. But
Brian,
basically
this
a
is,
music video, but it's amazing. Came out in 2016.
this is just an ad for Google Business. I don't know what's wrong
No.
with you.
It has 12 million views, and I think at least 2 million of them are me.
Oh, I've seen
Oh.
this one. I've seen
Yes.
this one. That's good stuff. Actually, if you want to see my current go-to for like both sleepy time and interesting content, I don't know what this documentary
Brianna
is, and
Fati.
nope. Someday I'll find it. Here, Brian, post that. Because technologies is hard.
Oh, ooh. That one.
I don't know who this company is. I don't know where they came from, but like 3.5 hours of some kind of long form box set. One dude, British voice, narrating stuff about the solar system.
Perfect sleepy time background music.
I have a weakness.
Yeah,
British voices
I'll,
talking about science.
I'll add that to the list because I don't think I've seen. Oops.
It clearly starts in the middle of something, and someday I'll find out what the middle of that something is, and it'll be amazing. But
Yeah. Well, it's 3 hours and 35 minutes long, so.
and from that same provider, there's at least another 4 hours of content.
Okay.
What can I help you? Well, I think while we're in this lull, we have 2 very annoying dogs that we're gonna go take care of.
Okay.
So, thank you for having us on. You guys have a wonderful evening.
It was good talking, everybody.
Thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
Brendan, we're looking forward to a check-in again in a month or two.
I will give you one.
And we're totally gonna now have a private course some weekend where you won't be allowed to drink nearly as soon as Brian and Rick and I.
Yeah, no, not at all.
But we're gonna
we will
provide
have
you
a
some knowledge.
whiteboard and colors of whiteboard markers you didn't even know existed.
So
There's
many
more than
whiteboard
4.
So many colors. Oh God, so many colors.
Sounds fun. I look forward to it.
All right.
Good
Well,
night, you
then,
guys.
Yeah,
we
thanks
have to
for
do that
coming out,
soon.
guys.
All
Take
right,
it
good
easy.
night. Thanks for
night.
coming on. Bye.
All right, they're gone. What else are we going to talk about? Nothing. Oh, really?
Huh?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
What are we doing?
I'm not telling Jesse that he's muted.
Oh. Can't hear you, Jesse.
Sorry.
We've now gotten to that part of the show.
Can you hear me now? Can you guys hear me? Everybody's favorite part of a Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
People mock it, but I love it.
He's
I'm
not
like,
muted because I
No.
can mute and unmute him.
yeah. Gonna show you my
No.
my tape measure tricks. Look, it's a right triangle. It's still a right triangle. It's still a right triangle.
You're a dork. Oh my god.
Mostly so that people can understand why my arms move out of frame.
But now.
I'm not.
There you
Oh, we
go.
can hear you now.
Oh,
We can hear you now.
oh, holy Jesus.
Don't touch anything.
Don't
Breaking
touch
it.
anything.
Jesus.
Not touching anything. Jesus. So,
So,
I heard the stock market's off like a whopping 13%, and everyone's losing their fucking minds.
That's about what the Nasdaq is down. Wasn't it like 13?
Yeah, it was like 13.
I mean,
15,
S&P.
13, 15,
Yeah.
you know, depending on what you look at. Call me when it's 30.
Yeah.
When it's 30% off, then let me know.
Get
Well.
yourself. You know what? Go out and buy yourself a switchgrass field, and some hardwood hardwood forest stand. You'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
Like, let's pick another commodity that's going to go.
Yeah, see, everybody thought that like back in the 60s with black walnut. Oh, I'm going to buy this stand of black walnut, and when I retire, I'll be a millionaire. That really didn't. I mean, it's still valuable wood, but
It's not that valuable.
It's not what everybody thought it would be
Yeah.
50 years later.
No, like what you do is you buy a stand of black walnut that's close to a suburb, so that when you clear cut it, you can then
divide it.
you can subdivide it.
develop it.
So like
Yeah.
that's cash plus right there, right? Like, and
My-
I don't.
My parents have like 3 black walnut trees like dead in their backyard, so it's like that's like free money if I go back and get it, right?
Right. Go back and get it because it is worth it, right? And the wood, like black walnut, lasts for a long time.
Great
Dead.
wood.
Um,
But
I mean-
20 years ago, that was 20 grand a tree. Now it's maybe $1,000. Maybe
Yeah.
a little bit more.
it,
But
it ebbs and
it's
flows.
not what it was.
Well, people have stopped decorating with black walnut. That'll come back in 15 years.
Yeah, maybe.
As soon as the super minimalist decorating trend ends and people are back to like,
Mm.
no, I need a desk that is as impressive as my stature is not.
And I think the biggest use of it was gun stocks.
Yeah, this like
Sure.
this fucking John F. Kennedy sized desk.
I
and
don't-
like you think you're gonna get
It's exactly as wide
You-
as Marilyn Monroe was
yeah,
tall.
you are not as valuable as John F. Kennedy, motherfucker. You run a local Nothingsville. Okay.
Right. No, and like
But you behind your John F. Kennedy sized desk says otherwise.
I've never understood the move for black walnut for gun stocks, or really any tool stock. Like, it's not as good as hickory. I would rather have any hickory for anything that I'm going to do, like any work with, gun stock, tool handle, whatever. It's every bit as resilient as ash. It's way stronger. It's
I wonder
lighter.
if it's the density. I thought it was heavier. Is hickory lighter than black walnut?
Yeah,
I thought it was denser. Okay.
it's lighter than black walnut. Black walnut is like,
Oh, God.
I mean, it's like black walnut is like, well, I can't afford pecan because pecan wood, right? Like, whatever. No. And now we're into tree talk. Welcome to Tree Talk, brought to you by Opsoups Origami.
We've now
Chris knows a lot
entered
about
the
trees.
tree portion of the program.
I mean,
Yes.
I can show you. I can show you
How
some.
would-
I can show you tree porn, but it is not what you're thinking.
Oh, that's a shame.
Like, look at that beautiful stand of oak.
Makes me think of Rick and Morty.
Good stuff.
Extra curvy piece of driftwood.
Any hoozle. But no, what's the next big commodity that's going to be like everybody panicking about? Because it was lumber, right? And then it was fuel. People don't understand, like, oh, I can't get chips. So that's not been a topic of conversation in the wider population. I mean, it has been, it will continue to be, but they can't. It's never huge news because it'll be like, well, but like chips. Nope, can't do it. Tell me something that I can understand.
When people realize, well, they're not going to really realize this, but once they realize the effects of lack of fertilizer, because 70% of it was made in Russia and is no longer being imported
in Ukraine. Like, let's be honest.
Well,
some of it was in Russia.
Yeah, but most of it was in Russia. They do make it in Ukraine, but once that starts like finally selling, because prices are already getting insane for food.
Yeah.
I think they haven't gone higher yet because people don't actually realize how dire it is so far. I mean, look at the number of just meat processing plants or other food plants that oddly enough have burnt down or had fires that have shut down production in the last year. It's a weird number. There's been like 22 large food processing plants that have burnt down or significantly shut down because of a fire.
What it sounds to me like,
what's in a food processing plant to burn?
Not a whole hell of a lot in most of them.
Like,
I mean,
wet ass.
Well, no, so if it's like flour is profoundly.
Yeah. Oh God, right. Flour.
But that's like a grain mill.
Yeah.
But like, if you're talking about like animal processing, a large amount of fat, and while it may not start easily, once it's
takes
burning,
work to keep it going.
No, once it, like, when you're talking about industrial scale fire, that work is done. That, like, once you get to industrial scale fire, you're talking about so much heat that like all of the obstacles to burning are gone, and you have a huge reservoir of energy. The same reason we eat it is the reason it burns real well.
But
It is
that's
weird
just
though. It is
one
a
of those things.
weird situation.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Google it. It's something I had noticed a couple, and I had only noticed like 2 or 3 and thought it was weird. And then somebody
what
had
I'm
mentioned, oh,
hearing
it's like
is-
22. Well, it was like 20 at that point, and there's been a couple more since then. It's like, that's a little odd.
What I'm hearing is the way to get ahead of the curve is to buy into food processing and Iowa dirt.
Well, clearly not, because why would you buy into a bunch of shit that's burning to the fucking ground?
No, you buy a new one, right?
Well, but that
What if it?
Or you buy into one by saying, you know what? I'm going to help you install sprinklers.
So,
Like a modern sprinkler system, like, and when I say modern, I mean something within the last 40 years, if operated correctly, will prevent basically all catastrophic fires. Well, maybe not all, but a large percentage of catastrophic fires.
well, what if
They're really
like
good.
you had just mentioned a animal processing plant where there's a lot of fat.
Mhm.
You really
So at
gonna
that
spray
point-
sprinklers on that?
Yeah, no, so that seems like a bad idea, but the way that you get an
You'll probably
industrial
put
fire,
it out, yeah.
right? The way you keep an industrial fire under control is you don't let other fuel burn.
Yeah.
Right? So like it gets super hot, but if you keep the rest of it cool enough, and that's what sprinklers do, it's not about making it wet, it's about keeping it cool.
Remove energy faster than it normally would.
Right. You need a lot of water to do it, but it works. Or like you just subtract oxygen. Install Halon. I know it's illegal, but install it anyway.
You would never get a Halon system installed.
No.
No, you wouldn't.
You're lucky to keep one if you have it.
That is correct. You can still find Halon fire extinguishers.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, not new, but
No.
I'm sure replenishing them is still within legal.
I don't know that it is, but you can find them undischarged, and like, it's not particularly corrosive, so you're good.
Yeah. Now we're doing like mild CO2 now.
Yeah, I don't know what the soup du jour is.
I have no idea.
Weirdness.
There's something where you can still like it won't kill you, like you'll still breathe, but it'll put out the fire, kind of thing.
That just doesn't seem right.
Yeah, see, almost anything that you'd want to use to put out a fire is going to displace oxygen.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, fuck the poor sysadmin who's trying to like shut down. fuck him. Like kill his bitch ass.
No, that's what the 30-second alarm is for.
Yeah,
when the alarm goes off, you leave.
You get out. Yeah, I've never had that happen, but believe me, if that does happen, wow, fuck the servers, man. Fuck them.
You know what? They're fucked anyway.
They're fucked anyway.
Well, yeah.
I wouldn't even be trying to save them at that point. I'd be looking for a new job.
Right.
Well,
that 30 seconds is better spent on your resume.
Yeah. Yeah. Survived a Halon release of a massive data center. And here I am. I would love to work for your company.
So what'd you do to survive the Halon release? Well,
I held my breath.
I ran.
I held my breath and ran. Yeah.
I grabbed a network cable on my way out.
Yeah. What'd you do to try and save the company's resources? Nothing. Fucking nothing. Absolutely nothing.
I preserved my life and the knowledge in my head.
Yeah. I pulled all the power cables on the way out.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I prevented the company from being sued by my next of kin.
Yeah.
You just got to speak the language they understand. Like, oh, actually, thanks for that.
No, that's actually quite intelligent.
let's see here. What else? No, but Iowa dirt. That's what you got to get into. Fertilizer's going down. Just start bagging dirt from Iowa.
Yeah, I mean it's
Wisconsin dirt's pretty solid too.
Sure, and closer, but
Yes.
there is more Iowa dirt.
it's
Just like start burning down cornfields.
well,
And
do they? What
They
do
frown
they do
upon
with
that.
cornfields? Do they actually fertilize that stuff?
Unless you turn into ethanol first and then burn it. Oh, you have to fertilize corn.
I mean, you actually
Corn
don't
is so
in
rough on the
Iowa.
soil.
Because
How
you, ro-
long?
'cause you rotate corn from soybeans, right?
In Iowa, you don't have to fertilize. They happen to get fertilizer in their special Roundup blend, which prevents all weeds from growing.
That's not a good thing. Like,
Nope,
Roundup
it is not.
like hello.
Yeah.
That they don't have the best reputation.
Roundup
You're
ready
like
corn.
a side of cancer with your
Yeah,
Roundup?
the old cancer thing, you know.
Yeah, so
Sorry, Roundup.
profit is king, right? Like, oh, farmer
Yeah.
got cancer, but you know what? He got 20 years of really great corn crops.
Yeah, but
Right.
like a billion people died. So, like,
I mean, it wasn't a billion.
all fucked up.
It was a relatively high percentage. Like, no joke, Roundup is not great, and you know, Monsanto deserves to pay some money for that.
Like,
'cause
we
they
all saw
totally
that.
mismarketed that.
We all saw the video of the Monsanto guy, right? The Monsanto rep. Like everyone saw that video, right?
No,
I don't think so.
Like the Monsanto rep who claimed that people attempt suicide with Roundup and fail, and then was presented with Roundup to drink right then and there. Like,
Oh,
it's a video. It's a video. Like, if you don't have to search very hard to find it.
like making the claim that, like, hey, it's super safe.
Yeah, it's like,
yeah.
people try and kill themselves all the time with this stuff, and it doesn't work. And it's like, here, would you try and drink some? It's like I'm not stupid. Like, it's a you don't have to search very hard to find.
Yeah,
Thing. Yeah.
I'll check that out. But
Yeah,
no, like,
yeah.
Well, it is a carcinogen,
Yeah.
and they successfully managed to convince people it wasn't for a lot of years. As an agricultural tool, you know, deaths aside, if you could ever say that, it's wildly effective. And like Roundup Gen 2 is even more wildly effective. It's what they do in Iowa. They spread largely herbicides. Yes, they do spread some fertilizer. They don't need to. Crop rotation in Iowa is hilariously uncommon. We do it in Wisconsin because, like, I don't know, because we do.
Well, you have to rotate between corn and then soybean to the
If you're-
soybean discharge offsets the corn.
Yeah, no,
discharge.
like, so soybeans fix nitrogen, and that's frequently what corn just robs from the soil. But if your soil is rich enough, you can go many, many years without doing it. Largely the reason they rotate crops now is to prevent disease. If you go a year or two between two crops, you effectively quash any kind of molds or whatnot that are species or type specific, right? So like switch to soybeans so that your corn diseases die off enough so that you don't have issues with them.
Yeah.
Like crop rotation in any of the soil rich states, like really anything in the Mississippi River, Mississippi watershed, have crazy rich soil that goes down way deeper than you could ever imagine. And so they're not super worried about fertilizer. They still fertilize because they can. It makes the crops grow better. Like, add more nutrient, it grows better.
What's interesting is when I've never driven out to California before, but when I went to California for the first time, like their agriculture was like a science out there.
Mm-hmm.
It was like they
because nothing wants to grow out there.
Nothing, I guess, yeah, nothing wants to grow.
Well, nothing wants to grow out there in any of the areas that they want to grow stuff. All the areas where stuff grows well, that's all the like spots that everybody wants to live. So there's no agriculture there.
Yeah, but they had everything was down to a T. Like I could tell, like Wisconsin, like cornfields are sloppy. Like it's just a cornfield
Because it's easy.
plants and corn, grows whatever. But in California, I could tell that every row was precisely ran. Everything was precisely watered, which means it was all precisely fertilized. Everything was done. People were working the fields like it was not like nothing I've ever seen before in my life.
I mean, there's a
Totally
reason
different.
that the epicenter for agricultural research is UC Davis. That place is, it's not exactly a desert, but you wouldn't go there and go, this is where I'm going to start my farm empire. But the stuff they're putting out at like Davis County, if you're eating almonds,
Yeah,
you're probably eating almonds from
Yeah.
Davis County.
California. Yeah, California.
Specifically Davis County. Do you know what shouldn't grow there?
Nothing.
Almonds.
Nothing.
Almonds use a ridiculous amount of water in an area where there is no water.
Yeah, and where there will be less water in the future.
Right.
Whatever.
But they've managed to figure it out. And
which is amazing. It's amazing that they've actually done that. But eventually,
I mean, we don't have a Colorado River anymore. But
no,
they've done it.
Eventually, the Lake Mead is going to sound like the bottom of a milkshake, and that's just going to be the end. That's going to be it. It's going to be it. There's going to be no water.
It's all right. By that point, they will have figured out how to tap water from the Pacific Northwest, and it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
No way. No way.
You say, have you met the California?
Those pipelines are already big enough. You're already coming from Nevada all the way to LA.
Mm-hmm. No, it's insane.
We just need to cut off the water supply and put the National Guard at the borders of California and be like, no, you're not coming this way. No.
Well, if they get Lake Mead all the way down to the muck, maybe they'll find all the bodies.
Yeah. Yes. They've already found bodies.
They've found several of them because it's at historic lows right now.
Yes.
They found they've been finding bones and all that kind of stuff. And
most of the mob fucking killed all those people and threw them in the fucking lake.
Yep.
Lake Mead hasn't been this low since it filled up in the 40s.
Yeah, that used to be a great lake. I mean, I've been on it many times playing water skiing and jet skiing and that kind of crap. It's a great lake, or it used to be.
Where they found that body in the barrel, it was like 75 feet deep.
Yeah.
Previously.
Yeah. It's crazy. I don't think it's ever going to turn around.
Are they going to find the hard drives that I buried there?
Maybe. Are they right next to Jimmy Hoffa?
Yeah.
No, because it's not New Jersey.
Yeah, well, yeah.
There were stats that when they built the dam, that the statistics they used for the water flow were abnormally high for the region. It's like they built it based on data that was inflated. Unbeknownst to them, maybe not. I don't know, but clearly,
I would
accept that. Draining.
I would accept that if it weren't for the fact that for 50, 60 years, the water levels really didn't go down very much.
How long did it take to fill up? It took 30 years for that thing to fill up.
It took a long time for that water table to drop. It's been dropping since the late 80s, early 90s. That water has been dropping in Lake Mead for a long time.
Now, you might say, well, we calculate on record high water levels, but I would say, no, you didn't suck water at a level that could overpace that until the 80s or 90s. Like, hey, you want to like need to fill up again? Don't suck water like it's 1980 and beyond.
Right. Yeah, that's why, because the Los Angeles, Southern California is using that water up faster than the Colorado River can fill it.
Oh, it's insane. I mean, how many million? I mean, was there less than 1 million people in Las Vegas when that thing filled up? Less than 1 million people. There's like 5-6 million people in Las Vegas right now.
Las Vegas uses some water from there, but it's not Las Vegas.
No, it's not. But
Agriculture.
Las Vegas does use a buttload of water from there. They absolutely do. Because there should
drop in the
nothing
bucket
should grow
compared
in,
to LA.
Nothing should grow in Las Vegas but your rash. From
Both
heat.
are a drop in a bucket compared to agriculture.
That is
right.
Yeah,
probably true.
Right. It's Southern California, mostly agriculture. I grow oranges in Southern California. You know where you should grow
That's
oranges?
why all like the don't water
a
your lawn
ship.
things are just complete bullshit. That is so tiny compared to how much they're using for all.
Well, they want
I
the
think-
water for the oranges, Brian.
which
Yeah, I get it.
that's not
I
necessarily.
like oranges better than most people in Southern California, so I totally get it.
That does not make it necessarily a good thing because a lot of our food comes from California.
I get it.
Like a lot of our food comes from California.
Here's the thing.
Maybe
we
we
could
need to
grow
figure
that.
out we need to eat things in season.
We could, we could grow that food elsewhere. Way cheaper and way more effectively.
Nope, because if that were true, we would do it by now.
No.
No, we'd
Cal-
have to
We
not
will-
have
we will-
strawberries in January.
We will not do it until we are forced and Lake Mead runs dry. And I think Lake Mead is like 40 feet from being unable to produce electricity for the Hoover Dam.
Here's where I'm
40 feet. Like I can see 40 feet.
here's
Like,
here's my statement. Here's my prognosticating mind, right? If we move a couple thousand Californian farmers to Louisiana and they don't die from whatever mosquito-borne disease gets them, right? They will produce 6 times as much food in half the space. And they'll be able to do that for the next 300 years without batting an eye. Do you know why? Because there is a water source and the soil is amazing.
Yeah.
Much better than Southern California's soil.
Yeah. Yeah. Much.
And you know what? We won't make the Mississippi run dry.
No.
Mostly because it'll just rain. I mean,
Yeah, that's part of it. Yeah, it never rains in fucking California. Never. Or Las Vegas. Never rains in Las
Well,
Vegas.
once a year, whether you need it or not.
Yeah. I think the once the Hoover Dam once it stops producing electricity, you're done. Where's the electricity going to come from? That doesn't like taper off. All of a sudden, boom, you're like done.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Elon Musk's battery factories. That's where it'll come from.
No, it won't. Okay. No, it won't.
They do
But
have
they're-
quite a few, and this is not going to do it, but they do have huge wind farms out west of
They do.
Los Angeles, out along Interstate 10 and all that kind of stuff. And they do have
Hoover
a
Dam
lot
is
of-
not the bulk of their power.
no, I get it. I'm just saying that they have that, and they also have solar panel farms out there. That's just miles and miles of that shit.
Right.
So-
I still think you can't.
And some years they'll break even.
Yeah, well,
You
not
can't
in our
just.
lifetime, Brian.
You can't just turn.
Well,
the
at least they have a
and-
shot in Southern California.
Yeah.
The ones that are building in Wisconsin.
We drove by some of those this past weekend, actually.
The solar farms will break even in Wisconsin just as soon as the government pays them off.
Well, yeah, that's the problem. Yeah.
You know what's good in Wisconsin? Wind farms. Got lots of wind.
Maybe.
Wind farms don't break even anywhere. They just
Yeah,
don't do it. They kill a lot of birds and they make some tree huggers happy, but
You know how you make a profit from a wind farm.
sell it.
You sell those. No, you sell those dead birds. That's good eating.
Yeah.
Fuck.
So what we're saying is we're basically screwed no matter what.
I mean,
No.
just got to get over the idea that you can get strawberries, 13 months out of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Or-
it's unrealistic. It's unsustainable.
Yeah.
So sorry, I like strawberries too, but
Or you have to get over the idea that the state of Louisiana doesn't have to work for a living.
yeah.
Sorry, I'm picking on Louisiana. They do make it easy.
Mississippi Delta. That's
All that silt. Years
Yep.
and years and years, decades of silt. built up.
Yep. And it's not the good silt. The good silt is further north, but it's still there. Like it's
still
viable.
good enough. It's better than anything they have in California.
Right. And you don't have cold weather. So, you can grow oranges. and strawberries.
Only California has cold weather.
No, I'm saying that Iowa has cold weather.
Nah.
Your mom
Although-
has cold weather.
I mean,
Sorry.
Sometimes.
you're not wrong.
Fuck. Well,
I mean, reality is she's probably got your cold weather.
Wow.
Like she owns it.
Wow.
because my mom is a doctor.
I mean,
Oh God, Chris,
you said it, not me.
we
But we digress.
yeah, we need to hang around more, dude. I miss
Yeah.
my
We have gone completely off the rails.
yeah, we have.
So
we-
about that
It's
IT,
on track. Stuck on track today.
Yeah.
my favorite part of Jesse's backdrop today is white wall and shadows.
Yeah.
So like somebody just delivered something to you, and it was like your shadow dropped something off. Like
She's
Peter
way
Pan
more
showed up.
interesting than you are.
So I heard the S&P is like whopping 13.5% off the high.
Buy
Bye,
baby.
buy something. Buy something, buy anything. It almost doesn't matter. I mean, it matters, but
Isn't it NSYNC that had that song? Bye, bye, bye.
Bye. VTI, baby. VTI and chill.
take your word for it.
VTI. That's all you need.
Fair enough.
All right. But yeah, we're way off the rails and past the 2-hour mark by some change. So
Indeed, we did a thing. We did a thing.
It's a good
sometimes
episode. I
we do a
like
thing.
this one. This is good.
I mean, nobody watched, but I don't care.
I mean, all right. Before we go, Rick, sum us up. Give us your 10-second sum up of our episode today.
Yeah, 10 second around the board here.
It was fun. Then it devolved into a shit show, which made it even more fun.
Yes.
Thumbs up.
Jesse,
If you're looking more than single digits in the future, buy low cost index funds and shut up.
Shut the hell up.
fair enough.
Shut up.
My takeaway:
VTI. VTSAX. Come on.
eat beef while you can. Buy beef so you can make money from it.
It's a good one.
Fair enough.
Brian.
I will say buy index funds, buy non-index funds, buy some regular stocks, buy some crypto, buy some collectibles, buy something. Move your money out of cash because I know things look grim right now.
Just you wait, baby.
But yeah, you wait. Because there's a freight train of inflation that's bearing down on us.
VTI, VTSAX.
And it's going to suck. It's going to suck for a year, maybe 2, maybe longer.
It's going to get worse before it gets
better.
much, much worse.
And then it'll fake you out.
No, believe me, it will shake people to this core. I promise you that. The day, if you've been following this stuff, the day bow tie wearing Jim Grant comes out and plugs Zynga stock, that's when you sell. But until then, whatever. But I think there's going to be people need to be shooken out to their core, and people need to be like drawn out on the chopping block. Everybody does.
Yeah. Shake out the weekends.
Everybody. I don't care who you are. Doesn't matter who you are. Yeah.
Diamond hands.
Diamond hands, Ben, you jackass.
I'm buying. I ain't selling.
And on that note, that cheery note.
Cheery note, that positive.
That is a cheery note.
Positive.
We're going to get to retire early.
Yes.
This is a windfall. People don't see it. This is a gift.
This is nothing, yeah. But it will get worse. It will get much, much worse. I think we got another year to go.
Everyone has said at some point, man, I wish that was just a little bit cheaper again. I would buy so much of whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put your money where your mouth is.
There you go. Put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
Guess what? It's cheaper.
Yeah. I'll buy it all the way down until I'm fucking broke.
Yeah. Hey.
Just keep doing it until you have no more cash, because eventually you're going to have all kinds of it. So
yeah, there you go. Easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just buy it all, see?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a complicated plan, see?
Yeah, see,
You buy it all.
Just buy it all until you can't buy anymore, see? And then you'll be fine.
All right.
Yeah.
Brian, have you got 10 minutes to chat when we get done here?
Oh, jeez. Yeah, we
Never
can
mind.
chat. But it's late. No, we can chat.
No, never mind. No.
I know you want to get those Polos stood up.
What's that? The Polos are fine. I just wanted to bring you up to speed on your logins and shit like that.
Oh, I saw him
like that.
unboxing. He was unboxing some 400s when I was watching them before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw those.
Are those your new ones?
I was like, wait a second, I know what that looks like.
Those are the 460s.
They're heavy, right? They're
Yeah,
heavy.
they fucking weigh a ton.
Yes, they're heavy as fuck.
Well, they have no fans.
No, it's all heatsink. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all heatsink. Yeah.
But yeah. So
You got the rack mounts, the dual rack mounts, right? And
like it's a tray and it kind of straps into a tray. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know. These probably won't go in there because I don't even have the rack space for that there. So I'll figure out where to put them. But
Right.
it doesn't matter. But I do have the rack trays for my lab pair, and I had the rack tray for these when I send them down to New York.
Nice.
So yeah, these are fun. So I had to turn off. It was hard to do the turn off that zero config bullshit. So
Yeah. Request disable ZTP.
yeah, well, I tried to do it with the GUI, and the GUI was like, no.
Oh no, you have to do it from the command line.
Yeah. I figured that out.
It's shipped by default now, too, right?
Yeah. It's a little annoying if you don't need it, but oh, what you got? Oh. And you
Hey,
still
fun story.
reversed because
Still
you're
reversed.
It's so reversed.
showed.
God damn it.
You gotta flip your camera, bro.
I don't know how do I do that?
I think
It's a
I'm
setting.
straight, right? Can you?
You are.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah.
I mean,
So
From
how do
everything
I-
I've ever heard, you're straight.
Yeah.
I don't know how do I do that? I don't know what button to click.
Video settings. There's a
Yeah,
you flip the mirror camera.
See, like this.
Video settings.
Oh,
yeah, it's just a. Oh Jesus, Chris.
whoop whoop.
Oh,
Hey.
I kind of want to get it. I kind of want to get a beat
crap!
going.
I don't know
like,
which way I am now. There we go. There we go.
Don't worry.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not used to it, having the screen the right way is awkward. But
I didn't know that was the thing. Why does it flip it by default? That's weird.
because people have
you
an
used
easier
to seeing
time
yourself in the
gesturing.
mirror.
Right.
So I want to see myself like I am, right?
Right. So when you're gesturing and things, it's easier if it's flipped.
Yeah.
So,
So,
like,
I
if
so
you're
if
gonna
I
do the
see
Vanna-
myself- yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I got it.
But then anything you show is reversed, which is, yeah. So see, that's correct now.
Proof that it exists. Proof of life.
Yep.
what in the hell?
All right.
Life.
Well, let's end this thing.
Yep. All right. I mean, there's not even anybody watching anymore, so
Maybe next week.
Whatever
I
we
got
got
until
now.
I got until 1:30.
we went up to like five
No, 1:30 a.m.
users. No, we ain't staying up that late.
Woo.
What are you talking about?
I haven't
Lock
stayed
down now.
I gotta go into the Dominican Republic tomorrow, so
Oh yeah.
gotta get up super early, which means might as well not go to bed.
Enjoy your trip to the DR.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully I make it back. It'll be good.
Very well.
I mean,
Stay away from the tainted alcohol.
Yeah. I'll go
And
Well, that
back.
doesn't sound fun.
The AIDS.
The HIV.
Oh.
Have you tested when you get back?
all right.
All right.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. Whoever's
Yes.
left.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
All right,
Like,
see you guys later.
subscribe, all that shit that everybody else says.
Subscribe. Smash that like button.
Smash that button.
Let's smash that like button. Woo!
Hit the bell. Ring the bell. Whatever it is.
Like and share the comments.
Yes. All right. Talk to you guys later.
All right, see ya.
Rick, I'll send you a thing. Or just